Hello, everyone. We still have some people that are joining the webinar. We will begin momentarily. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, the Interactive iTwin Insights, a Q&A on Maximo Application Suite, digital twins, and the cohesive advantage. I'm going to just take a quick moment to make sure that you're able to hear me, everyone.
I can definitely hear you, Kat.
Great, thank you. I'm Kat Pullen, part of the marketing team here at Cohesive. Today we will be answering your questions about digital twin, how they can improve your overall EAM data, and take a quick peek at the upcoming Cohesive Maximo iTwin solution. This webinar is being recorded, and we will send a link to it and a copy of the slide deck within 24 hours of the broadcast. We will be muting the phone lines throughout the presentation. If you have a question, and we do encourage them, please enter them in the question box field. Today's presenters are Joe Longin and Neil Stanford of Cohesive. Good day, gentlemen. Joe, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the presentation over to you.
All right. Thank you, Kat. Let me share my screen here. Let me know when you can see that.
Yep, we look good. Thank you.
All right. Well, welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining the webinar, either today or if you're viewing this in the future. We appreciate your attendance, and I'm looking forward to some discussion and interaction today around digital twins, our ecosystem, which includes the Maximo Application Suite and the Bentley iTwin as points of discussion today, and the advantages that we believe at Cohesive that you can achieve by using these together. Before we get into introductions, just a quick note about who Cohesive is and our visions. We are the world's leading implementer of digital solutions, supporting high value and asset-centric organizations. And together we can unlock infinite possibilities, creating sustainable operational excellence and maximizing value. Quickly today, just on what we're going to cover for you to expect, we'll take a few minutes to do an introduction. The main session will be interaction between myself and Neil, and hopefully feedback and questions from you in the audience. We have some pre-posed questions to open everybody's thoughts up a little bit, and then we'll have just a quick wrap up at the end. So quick introductions. Neil, I'll do a real quick introduction for you, just to let everybody know. Neil Stanford is a senior solution manager here with us within our Cohesive technology and data team. Neil has a significant background in asset management, years of experience, not only with Maximo and other data management solutions, as well as in the maritime industry, offshore industries, etc. Neil helps to manage some very specific solutions and offerings within our ecosystem within Cohesive. So Neil, you want to just give a quick background on some of your experience to the group here?
Yeah, well, thank you for that introduction, Joe. Yeah, so as Joe points out, I'm a senior solutions manager, and my three main pillars really are sort of extensions of the MAS suite. So where we provide opportunities and abilities in industries and sectors to do things a bit differently from the norm. So we have something called a CDU, which is around the upgrade offering, where we can upgrade MAS with sort of zero downtime and no risk. And we have the CDR, which is a disconnected replication solution that allows you to put MAS in high latency, low bandwidth environments, such as Antarctic, shipping, FPSOs offshore. But the one we're going to talk about today is the up and coming new solution, which is our plugin from MAS into the Bentley iTwin platform, and allows you to take advantage of the two worlds and connect them together. So you have that extensive iTwin experience from Bentley, along with the capabilities from IBM Maximo Application Suite. So yeah, back over to you, Joe. Thank you for that.
Awesome, thanks, Neil. And I guess just real quickly for myself, Joe Lungen, also a Senior Solutions Manager with Cohesive. So we have, in our ecosystem, we have many partners and solutions, and we cover 10 value solution areas. One of them being enterprise asset management, one also being digital twin solutions. And Neil, some of the the products and solutions that you're helping to provide to clients in the marketplace cover very strongly in those two areas. We also have other areas that including digital advisory services, sustainability, etc. So my role is really making sure that we talk to the clients and that we understand the needs, and that we're ultimately delivering value to those clients with our solutions. My background has been significantly in facilities management and asset management over the years, along with design and construction, emergency management. So I've worn a kind of litany of hats, and I came to the organization years ago as a client. So I was an end user of many different of these processes and enterprise systems. So I enjoy talking to folks and seeing the real world application of the values that we can deliver. So with that, I wanted to talk quickly about the objectives for today. So kind of 4 things that I really hope that you get from this today, and that Neil and I can bring to you, is exploring digital twins and asset management together, right? How is that revolutionizing industries, how it can help in the space in the world, talk of sustainability and regulatory compliance and all these challenges that we have. Discuss the seamless integration techniques. How does integrating these things add efficiency and produce cost savings? Obviously, there's key geopolitical things happening across the world, stressed budgets, changes in climate. The integration of this data should help meet some of those challenges. And then talk about some practical insights that we've seen and some of the case studies from some clients and related projects, and hopefully engage you in some dynamic Q&A discussion as well as a group. So let's talk a little bit about digital twins and asset management, and we'll do this with a lens into, again, the ecosystem that we bring through Cohesive into the marketplace. So our primary partner in that is Bentley Systems and their use of iTwin. And a lot of people will ask, what is a digital twin? And the world has, I think, a lot of different types of twins that people consider, and there's been a lot of different definitions, but there's a really simple one here from Bentley that I like: a digital representation that reflects the state of a physical entity. And again, there's many different types of twins that can be built. And an iTwin from Bentley is an infrastructure digital twin that is implemented using their iTwin platform. It's one of many tools in the toolbox that we can use to bring digital twins to life. And you can see just in this, that there's many different types of systems and data that can be incorporated, into twins, whether they're more in the lifecycle portion for assets that's more in the design and construction space, or whether you're in operations, understanding whether that's real-time data, if it's design data, or again, any state of progression along, the asset lifecycle. These things can be, brought together and are being brought together in various types of digital twins. So I wanted to show a short video here. Let me know hopefully this comes through okay, and just shows a little bit about some of the future capability and some excitement around what Bentley Systems is doing. So I'll go ahead and get this started.
The power of Unreal Game Engine, for example, with our iTwin platform, which is where all these engineering grade 3D models are being stored in the cloud, and merging those things together. And then once the content, the models are running inside of Unreal Game Engine, we can then start to deliver VR experiences, desktop experiences, augmented reality experiences, so that people can interact with these 3D models in totally new ways using the power of modern game engines. So when you put on a pair of these VR goggles now, you can be fully immersed inside of a 3D engineering model and virtually walk around it and have that experience of actually being at the facility inside the asset. And I can tell you from personal experience, when we were testing with ITER, we had access to the models, we were prototyping, and we actually went to visit the site, ITER in France. When we walked through the reactor site, we had this sense that, in fact, we'd actually been there before. And at Bentley Systems, we believe that the industrial metaverse is perfectly primed to design and construct and operate infrastructure, but do it in an even better and a more sustainable way. What?
So Neil,
The power of
I think
Unreal
that,
gaming.
one second, just reflecting on that for a second, as taking a look at the future, hearing that was Greg Demchek from Bentley Systems talking about the industrial metaverse. Is that I get excited seeing some of the real world applications there. You saw ITER in France, which really was during design and construction, being able to experience models when you're not on site, and then actually going on site and realizing the overlap. Have you seen that the other clients that are experiencing that, and what are your feelings on over the years of what we've done with asset management? How excited are people for that type of capability?
I think there's always been a sort of disjointed understanding of how this can interact in that sort of operational stance. And I think as the technology is developing and it's becoming easier to adopt, less expensive, etc., the use cases are being borne out. And one of those use cases, as highlighted by Greg Demchek there, it's like when you're not able to physically visit an environment, therefore you can interact with the digital twin like you are on that environment. But one use case that we have is offshore oil and gas, and that is maintenance planners, where they can't actually visit the FPSO, but they can plan work. So they can see if it requires scaffolding, see if a lifting plan is going to be able to be executed. And it's those sorts of things that are allowing this interaction of data between the point to reduce the cost and reduce the complexities of operations in such environments and asset-intensive industries.
Yeah, I love that. I love that example of the platform, an offshore platform. And we'll talk a little bit. We'll move into the, so part of our ecosystem is also, IBM and the Maximo Application Suite. And before we talk specifically about that, on that example is what I used to live a lot in operations is that if, let's say, I was managing facilities and I had design and construction that was occurring at the same time as operations, and I had designers or engineers saying that we needed to do one thing, and then I had people in operations saying that's not going to work, and then asking each other why, right? Essentially saying prove that. Is the ability to look at that together, with that overlay, seeing both what the design is supposed to be, and then here's what is actually present real time, and deconflicting that, reducing risk, improving safety, and probably saving a lot of costs, right? I think that there's huge benefits, and people are realizing this now, right? It's no longer, we've moved well past just the theory of this.
Yeah, it's that journey, right, from disparate systems into that single pane of glass, being able to have an overview of what's going on across different silos of the organization and how they interpret and use data. And that's key going forward. You sort of always had that ability historically, but it was very complex, and the technology behind it was heavy to maintain and came at a cost. And I think that as we develop through, as AI becomes more in play, these things are becoming easier and more realistic to attain for organizations and understand the benefit.
Absolutely. So seeing some of that, from Bentley Systems, and then obviously the power of the Maximo Application Suite. It seems like this, has become the platform for enterprise asset management. What are the key points, that somebody should know about this, and so that we can talk about how that synergy then happens with digital twins?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the journey here with the Maximo Application Suite is it's IBM's intent to go out into the marketplace and it'd be easier for people to use the applications that are on offer. Some of these were already around before the application suite, but you were having to buy licenses separately. It was cost heavy. You were having to deploy different technology to underpin it and support it. And what's happening here on the application suite is everything's tied together, and it allows you to ingest and turn on applications and grow in to these applications and growing to becoming a true sort of top to bottom lifecycle asset organization, using the data that you're ingesting at various different points to make decisions. And as part of that, the underlying technology on the OpenShift platform allows you to scale up. So it just makes the approach and the technology deployment and the support a lot easier, which then allows the organization to start using the capabilities that are inside the various applications. And as we point out there on the screen, we have historically, and it's not the intent here to do a mass presentation, but we'll just go through it quickly, right? So we've got mass manage, which is the old sort of Maximo, if you like, which is plan work, do work. We have the mobile there, execution, which is for remote technicians, monitor, manage, detect anomalies, visual inspection, which is powered by the Watson AI perspective. And you can see AI starting to take hold, health, predict, asset, and then safety. But the way that the underpinning technology is applied here, it allows you to grow into those applications. So you can grow in, you can see if you can use it in your organization, rather than having to commit long term to something that you then don't take hold of because you don't really understand it.
No, that's awesome. And I heard you, so you mentioned, I think, the visual inspection. So what's key to we've seen that the AI is showing up in so many places. So is that a key portion of that solution set as well?
Yeah, so AI, the Watson X aspect underpins a visual inspection module, and it allows it to deploy rapid models, etc., and understand the data. So you're seeing people start to understand how AI can offer benefit in their organization along with machine learning, and it's a learning journey, right? So yep. All of this and the understanding, organizations are having to adopt new skill sets and understand what it actually means to their EAM sort of digital journey.
Oh, that's awesome. And I want to switch over now that you've mentioned that, and I have something here. So this is a bit of both a use case and I think a nod to the capabilities that's extensible there. This is an example of some of that visual inspection. So just show a short clip from this 1 second here.
If it hasn't been inspected in the right manner and maintained in the same manner, very sad accidents can happen. We literally have to hire mountaineers to climb the surfaces, actually do the inspections. Now we have changed that way of inspecting our concrete surfaces from the mountaineer climbing around using drones now.
Everything is done automatically. It's scalable. Scanning a bridge can take 1 day instead of taking a month.
All this data that feed into Maximo from sensor, from documents, from images, and from other sources needs to be processed to extract knowledge, and that's where AI comes into play.
The powerful combination of microspatial and the hybrid transformation that IBM provides us with Maximo Application Suite and the Red Hat OpenShift is redefining the ways we are approaching business outcomes in the civil infrastructure, including bridges. We experience that the technology synergy is driving accelerated deployment, minimizing cost, and ensuring compliance.
So again, in addition to what we saw from Bentley Systems in terms of them talking about the metaverse, and then what we see there, in terms of what can come into the Maximo Application Suite, we're seeing use of AI, We're seeing, very visual connection to data, already some efficiencies because it's speeding up the capabilities, it's providing collaboration. So just there's very key points there. So one of our objectives here was to talk about that synergy, of integration. So where digital twins, overlap, with asset management. And, there's been a litany of different, presentations about this, but, these are just, 8 points that maybe we can, chat about quickly, Neil. Is, I think visualization and understanding is one of the first things that comes to mind. In theory, people have talked about the single pane of glass for a long time, get all my data in one place. But visually, just seeing different data types, again, they could be in states of the life cycle from design and construction through to real-time data from assets, just gaining, the understanding, just having that available, to see it visually instead of seeing it like in a flat file. I'm no longer looking at things that look like spreadsheets, for instance. What are the types of efficiencies that you see people gaining?
It's when you're able to overlay that data, right? So rather than jumping between systems, you've got that overlay of data, whatever that data is that's coming in. Let's say it's IoT sensory data. You're able to look at the real world scenario and react to what's going on in your deployment. So if you've got that IoT data being ingested, and you've got the visual aspect of that, rather than just receiving an alert in a system and responding to it, you're able to make more informed decisions and react quicker, because you've got a single pane view of the overall picture of what's going on.
Yeah. So, with the tools that we're presenting in our ecosystem, things need to be easy and they need to be proven. Right, and, for systems to share that data. So your example, like the IoT data, so if we have condition data that's coming in for assets or systems, we're seeing the Maximo Application Suite there. Obviously, the Bentley iTwin can ingest that and overlay that with model information, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. What parts of the application suite actually allow for that integration? What makes that easy with Maximo?
So within Maximo, you've got the various REST APIs and JSON and Node.js and the integration framework. So the Maximo Application Suite is able to ingest many different types of data, and then you do what you need to do with it depending on the application you're ingesting that into, right? So once again, it's there and it's a standard and it's an industry standard. You're not building stuff all the time constantly to ingest data. So it makes it an easier journey as you move through the various different versions or tooling that we've got. So once again, having that well-documented, standardized approach to the ingestion of data, and the standards that are in place and compliant to those standards going forward makes this stuff more scalable to organizations.
No, that's awesome. I lost your audio for just a second there, Neil, so I don't know if that hit the audience too or not, just to let you know. Yeah, and so in terms of that, on the Bentley iTwin side, we know, Bentley's done such a great job over the years of being able to, adapt and now ingest, basically any type of, model file, model information. So, I think that I wanted to showcase, just very quickly, that there's a lot of information that's available, various connectors. You can just get this from Bentley's website, third-party applications. So I think, we've seen a lot of people that have like IFC format and Revit, and,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter if it's true BIM information or other design files, right, in order to be able to overlay that then with information we have from an enterprise asset management system.
Exactly. What we're trying to do here with what we're about to show shortly is marry up these two great platforms. So it take hold of what you can do on the Bentley iTwin platform, and with all of its capabilities and standards, and then plug that into what is essentially the BIM viewer inside of MAS, and then start to have interactions with that data. And we're on the early journey here, right, of productizing what we're doing and what we're building out, and we're using discussions with IBM and discussions with clients and discussions with Bentley to build out our roadmap for the tools that will eventually be deployed and then continuously evolve throughout its development life cycle. So what we will show shortly is like the entry model, right? It was saying, okay, let's take a look here. What can we do? What do we want to do initially? Let's show some value, not just put something on a screen and go, look, it's cool, but actually interact between the MAS platform and the iTwin platform and start to leverage the capabilities between the two technologies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and of this list that's on the screen now, I mean, people are going to realize this, right? These are high-level topics, but I think once we get showing, you know, a couple use cases today as well, is to see, you know, what are the features and the data capabilities, you know, that are necessary actually to realize these. Because some people may say, well, where do I start, right? Or, you know, is it okay where, you know, where we are today as an organization to start, you know, taking advantage of these. And I think some of the feature set that we have, you know, will show that you absolutely can do that. So
we could definitely do a webinar series on this. you could go very in depth on some of the topics. I say we have to stay relatively high level in this webinar, but use cases in various different industries are different, right? And we could spend an hour, 2 hours just talking about the civil infrastructure versus maybe a offshore maritime use case, etc., etc. So it's different to everyone, right? But hopefully now what we're getting to is a standard of technology that can be deployed regardless of sort of the infrastructure or the organization's needs.
yeah, exactly. So I wanted to talk a little bit here. This is a bit wordy. We don't have to cover all of this, Neil, but you know, in terms of when we look at the power of being able to see different models together, you know, inside Maximo or having Maximo data in models, you know, outside, you know, the features that we really were trying to, you know, bring to the marketplace. This was a list that came out in some of our requirements, right? So, you know, the ability, you know, to, you know, search for an asset, right? Depending on what you call that asset, you know, what asset class it is, you know, again, if I'm an engineer, if I'm a project manager, if I'm a technician, I could be wearing multiple hats, right? And, you know, I might just need to find an asset and say, show me where it lives, right? So finding an asset using a model or finding an asset, you know, in Maximo and then switching to the model to see it visually or doing it at the same time, right? So what do you see as some of the advantages to some of this feature set?
As I say, so it's the ability to take flat data, I suppose, that would be housed inside of Maximo, your typical data, and then visualize it inside the iTwin model and move around the model and look at where it is inside the wherever it's deployed, whether it be an airport or a train station or whatever. So people are visual. Touch and feel and visual is one of the senses, right? And being able to visualize stuff, it expands the mind, it gets the mind going, it gets the mind thinking in a different aspect. So some of this is just us allowing to say, okay, right, we're going to open the iTwin platform inside the BIM view. We're going to be able to move around the assets, look at the locations, interact, say, okay, we might create some work orders, we might create a new location or a new asset. And we want to be able to tie the two data sets inside. We don't just want this to be a visualized to say, okay, I click an asset inside of Maximo and I visualize it inside the iTwin viewer, and that's the end of this interaction. We have to build up and scale up what this is able to do. So this is just the initial set of requirements that we got, and based on a couple of interactions, right, with RFPs from clients. And what we see is that there's a need to have the federated data. There's a need to look at condition monitoring data, but this is the initial sort of build. And what has happened here is the underlying technology, so how we actually do this iTwin plugin using the REST APIs and so on and so forth. So really, it was the technology aspect first, then we've added on these functional requirements, and we believe these meet an initial sort of interaction minimal viable product between the two platforms that actually offer value rather than just say, okay, look, here's the iTwin inside of an iframe. Have a look. Isn't that cool? We can actually do some interactions and then create data you can work with.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to show a video that we had put together. This showcases a little bit of what, the iTwin in Maximo looks like. This takes a few minutes, so I'll just showcase this. See some folks that we have done some work with. We're going to have some use cases that we're going to show. So places like the Toronto Airport Authority, the Sydney Airport, both airport examples. They're more like campuses, right? A lot of facilities management, but pure operations. And then we have an example with High Speed 2 in the UK, with the high speed rail network, which I think those use cases will show some very interesting things to people as well. But I'm going to go ahead and show this video. Take a few minutes and watch this through. Showcases some of those feature sets being delivered within Maximo using the Bentley iTwin.
Find out more at cohesivegroup.com. For now, let's take a look inside Maximo and view the features available. We have started by logging into Maximo. On the Start Center, we are going to navigate to the Assets application. I'm going to select an asset to view related assets, systems, or data utilizing the iTwin viewer. Once I've selected an asset, I'm going to open the iTwin View tab. Once the viewer is open, it will navigate directly to the asset that we selected from the List tab. We can then work with this asset or navigate freely in the model to interact with other assets. Here we have navigated directly to a pump because that is the asset that we originally selected. Utilizing the iTwin Viewer interface, we can pan, scroll, zoom, and search the model to find other assets or related systems. If we would like to select a different asset, using the selection arrow, we can simply click on an asset. And if we want to interact with this asset in Maximo, simply click Go to Asset, and that asset will be loaded as well in the Maximo application. Information can also be viewed from the various Maximo application tabs. Here we'll select the Specifications tab to view additional information. Information about the asset is also available in the Tree view, which shows selected models, as well as the Properties view, which shows information from the model directly. While we still have an asset selected from the viewer, we can click on View Hierarchy. To view the asset hierarchy, we can see related assets and systems. We can also view related work orders and service requests. If we click on View Work Orders, we will see information available for the particular asset. Let's find an asset that has work history. I can again move throughout the model, and I will select a different asset. I know that this pump has been worked on recently. So I select that asset, hit Go to Asset. This is now loaded in Maximo, and I can see the asset's work history. This includes service requests and work orders. Inside Maximo, I can click the arrow beside any record and navigate to work order tracking or service requests to interact with the work order directly. I can also create work orders or service requests directly from the model. We will create a work order for this asset. Click on Create Work Order. We can now enter the appropriate information in the available fields. We click OK, and the work order is submitted. We can now navigate in Maximo to approve this work order. Let's navigate to work order tracking. Here I have an available query for my submitted work orders. We'll open the work order that I submitted, and now using the appropriate business process for my organization, using either workflow or the action buttons, I can approve this work order. The work order is now approved. I can also create new work orders and use the model to select the asset visually. Let's click on New Work Order. Opening the asset options, I'll use Select Asset from iTwin. The model will open and allow me to navigate directly through available models to select an asset for the work order. Here I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to pan to find the asset that I'm looking for. I can select this asset. Once the asset is selected, click OK. The asset is returned to Maximo. You can enter information about the asset's issue. Once I've entered the appropriate information on the work order, I can route the work order or save the work order Using my business process that's been configured in Maximo, the work order will now be handled according to the issue that I've submitted. I can also take a look in the iTwin viewer. I'm going to navigate back to assets. I'm going to check because I think that there's an area in that same room where there's something missing, and I want to report a discrepancy on this design model. Going to select an asset and open the viewer. Again, because I've selected an asset, the viewer will open and navigate directly to that asset. In this particular room, I'm going to zoom out, I'm going to look around, and I actually noticed that in this room, there should be another exit sign here. So I'm going to select, using the select arrow, this wall, and I'm going to create a service request. I'm going to click Go to Asset so that this asset is selected in Maximo, and then I'm going to use Create Service Request. Enter the information and click OK to submit the service request. This service request has now been submitted against this particular wall, which is an asset in Maximo, as well as our model. Again, I can navigate to service requests or work orders to then route the work order appropriately, or it will be handled according to my organization's business process. Thank you for taking a quick look at the cohesive digital twin solution for Maximo.
All right. Thanks for taking a look at the walkthrough video there.
Find out.
There's, you know, I think an initial set of features there. And Neil, I believe, you know, working in product management, you have additional features that are already added, you know, to the capability set. And then the use cases that we're about to talk through as well, I think showcase, you know, well beyond some of those capabilities as well. And, you know, showcase some of the Bentley iTwin, you know, functionality with that overlaid Maximo data as well. So again, regardless of how a person wants to experience this, you know, organizations can decide, you know, how each role, you know, needs to, you know, utilize data that's available. And I think it's going to start to open up more discussions within organizations, and, you know, certainly help to break down, you know, silos. And I think the ideas will be abound about, hey, you know, we can take a look at this together instead of, you know, wasting the next 4 or 5 hours trying to search for something to make a decision. So very excited, you know, seeing people using this. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, Sydney Airport. You know, clients experience, you know, having that visual data at their fingertips. And, you know, you talked a little bit about seeing requests, you know, coming back, you know, through various interactions with clients, Neil, that are asking about condition data. You know, being that airport operations are so significant, you know, part of travel and transit systems, that they, you know, they have sales operations, they have maintenance operations, you know, you have the community and the public, you know, moving through these spaces, you have mobile assets, etc. You know, what's the power of having, you know, say Maximo data, you know, available from, you know, say maintenance operations overlaid into something like this?
So, I mean, it's an evolving site, right? So it's ever changing. There's project work going on there, new buildings, new sections of the airport being built right next to sections that are currently in use. So it's having that full view of what's going on from design phase to also operational phase. But on the sort of Maximo side, we can see the sort of asset condition monitoring models, see what's going on, react to anything that might be going wrong in a certain part of the airport. So it's just having that line of sight of data, and that's what's key in general in most sort of enterprise applications, is having that single pane of glass line of sight, top to bottom, bottom to top, and being able to react to what's going on inside your facility. I mean, you're a facilities guy, so something you can talk to in way more depth than I can. I'm a technical type person, so sometimes I drill into like how the applications tie together, and I think on this space you've got a lot more sort of experience to offer in what it's going to bring to the table and how it's going to change how these types of organizations run their facilities.
Yeah, I think for me, I immediately go to like the challenges, right? You know, it was always about resource limitations, budget limitations, and just whatever the current fire was, like, you know, the theoretical fire, like what's the most important priority today? How can I respond to those repeatably and reliably, you know, day in and day out? So from that operations viewpoint, right, every day is just situational awareness, right? So I think that's key. And the fact that most organizations, people sometimes will talk about, you know, the design and construction, you know, like the, you know, brownfield, you know, versus greenfield kind of stuff is, you know, most organizations have both all the time, right? They're continuously moving through that entire life cycle day in and day out. So, you know, not everybody's working with a new build or a new site. But when you are, you know, you need that information such that when you finally get to operations, it's not going to eat your lunch, right? It's not going to consume your budget because it costs too much to operate. So, you know, I think the capabilities are boundless, you know, in value that we can deliver when we bring them together. So I'm going to showcase this video here that showcases a little bit from Sydney. And again, from a use case focus standpoint, so everybody realizes this is something that Bentley's been working with Sydney on, you know, very strongly. But Sydney also utilized Maximo, so there was opportunities there to bring that together. So again, showcasing how the iTwin can pull together various model information, start to showing, you know, evergreen information, you know. And I think, again, it's a great example for my scenario. If I had limited resources, how do I make sure that they can get to data very quickly? And so I'll just play this real quick.
OpenCity's digital twin, known as Maps at Sea, is a gateway to historical and real-time data from multiple sources relating to our physical assets, enabling our people to make informed decisions, facilitate predictive outcomes, improve operational and asset efficiency, mitigate risks, and underpin safety. The landing page enables a diverse range of users to navigate their way around the airport, finding information specific to their department and role, whether that information be within buildings, terminals, across the airport precinct, or details on projects and developments. The Check My Development site is to aid in the transparency of projects and future developments across the entire airport precinct. Project managers have the ability to overlay flood studies, environmentally significant areas, and heritage sites that may impact their development. Operational information, such as the airspace obstacle limitation surface, the OLS, and noise contours, can also be turned on. The location of the in-ground services network is essential. The ability to turn on or off
I'll move this forward here for just a second.
I knew we wouldn't make it fully through without one technical glitch.
It always has to happen, right? So the internet may be giving up on me.
Sydney Airport staff can navigate their way around the built environment of the entire precinct, finding data they require. Similar to the Check My Development site, the in-ground network services can be displayed. All 406 buildings have been captured within our GIS, and the search function enables buildings to be located on criteria such as number, name, or address. Once located and clicked on, the dialog box will open to display additional information, images, and links to floor plans. The ability to search for bays has also been implemented, with links to documentation such as apron operational procedures, the AOPs. Our team of surveyors use laser scanning and context capture to create 3D reality models of in-ground services prior to trenches being closed. OpenCities has provided us for the first time the capability to share this information without the need for specific software.
Right. So that mentions, just so everybody knows, in Sydney's case, the Sydney team, I've not worked with them directly, but they've been amazing. The Bentley team, being primary there, working along with some capabilities from the Cohesive team, did, again, integrated, asset management data. You can see there are a lot of design data and current design with operational data, so that they could see progression of construction when they maybe had impact points. And And they turned that using, so Bentley iTwin platform underpins one of their solutions called Open Cities, which gives very good insights from like a campus and city type operational view. And they've used that to create something that's very dynamic for all of their staff to be able to utilize and gain access to information very quickly. If anybody has any questions, by the way, just please drop them in the chat. And if you want to follow up, if you have specific questions on how that integration was made possible, please reach out to us after this. But I think this is a great use case. Neil, what are your thoughts seeing that in terms of what types of data would you see coming from the Maximo Application Suite that Sydney's probably using there to operate?
So, I mean, they're going to be using the standard asset locations, PMs, and job plans to manage their facilities. They might be ingesting some of the IoT data to trigger events and trigger service requests. So it's a multifaceted approach on their data to react to what you would do in a standard enterprise asset management organization, essentially. They might have their mobiles in there, so they might have the vehicles in there as well, and maintaining configurations for cranes, etc., etc. There could be quite a lot of different data points inside of Maximo in such a large, essentially, an airport's a city, right? It's a small city in itself.
Okay. Yeah, I was impressed, before we go to the next use case, just again, seeing things like design data, like floodplain, information as they were building, but also then being able to see in this particular location, if they had a work request where they had like subsurface, information. And, we obviously we work along, as part of the ecosystem with Sequent as well. So they can have, subsurface information, that comes up. So you're knowing where utilities are, you're knowing, what's the geological viewpoint, underneath the ground if I'm doing construction, or if I have to dig there to do maintenance, right? Am I, what utilities am I going to be near, but geologically too, I could look at things like soil types, and to know what type of equipment I'm going to need. So again, I think that, the ideas are kind of endless there in terms of if I'm planning for operations, if I'm planning during construction, if I'm just simply looking at the performance of a contractor, right, to know if I'm getting what I'm paying for, because of, what I've specified, that I need the operations to perform. So very exciting seeing how they're using that and how they're bringing together, again, digital twin capabilities with enterprise asset management. The next use case, I don't have the shiny video, just wanted to talk a little bit about the work that Cohesive has done in the UK, high-speed 2. So, the high-speed rail, of course, me being located in the Americas, I look and I'm always in awe of the transportation networks that I see abroad. And so, high-speed 2 had a challenge, it's a multi-billion-pound high-speed rail link project. They're trying to take a whole life approach to managing digital assets. They really want to see the value for the money, right? I think a lot of people see that as very, very expensive, right? What are we getting for this? Why, should we take this approach? And, how can they be more effective, in working together as a team? So Cohesive had worked there to identify digital transformation strategy. So some people have asked, how do I get started? So one of the things as part of our, ecosystem solutions package and our offerings is, our advisory services for digitalization, right? Understanding where the client is, current data architecture, understanding how the business operates functionally, what change management challenges, might come into play with different parts of the business trying to work together. Introducing a high performance team concept, right, to unlock some of those issues and really get a collaborative approach to working together. So, I think one of the keys too is we could bring all the best data together in the best technical way, but if, we still have the human centric side of this, people need to work together. So
I'm just going to break in here real quick. We have 10 minutes left.
Thank you, Kat. Appreciate the time check. Yeah, so I'll just wrap this one up quickly then. I think some of the benefits here, obviously improved collaboration, significant complexity was handled, it's a huge estate that they're trying to, accomplish both, again, design and construction, current operations, et cetera. And, again, visually pulling a lot of, digital information together for people to see in different parts of the asset life cycle. So, I think key points here, reducing spend, reducing risk, limiting impact on current operations, what's the impact, to the communities, surrounding this. So again, I think very good use case of bringing together, operational and asset management information together, along with digital twins. So with that, thank you, Kat, for making sure we were on time there. We're going to spend these last minutes together doing some Q&A and interacting with the audience. And I know we had some questions come in early, but Kat, are we ready that we could jump into the poll questions first to get everybody warmed up?
You bet. We're ready to go. Would you like me to read them, or I'll go ahead and launch the very first one?
Yeah, go ahead and read them, Kat, because I don't think I'll see them on my side, right?
When is your digital organization planning to invest in digital twin technology? Let's go ahead and give this a few minutes, or about a minute. Are you already investing? You can do it in the next 6 months to a year, or it's not something you're really looking at right now?
Seeing some of the questions come in, it's kind of, seems like there's two distinct camps here, so it'll be interesting to see the data on this. Give everybody a bit of time to answer.
Give it 10 more seconds.
And this one's helpful, Kat, because we want to see, what's the current appetite. I think, again, my personal thought is people are very quickly now moving past theory, right? And they're actually applying and investing here. So, all right.
Let's move on to the next one. Is your organization currently using digital twin technology?
Yeah, so very interested in, knowing, are you using something? Of course, we want to, very transparently, we want to know if we're bringing the right values to the marketplace, right? Where do you need something, right, to help you along? And, we're okay with whatever you're using and wherever you are. Being a digital systems integrator, I think, again, the experience of the team is that, we can pull together disparate systems, and using some of their key platforms and solution packs that we have makes that pretty easy. So yeah, a good range of results. And I'll touch back on these once we're through all three here, Kat.
Great. Yeah, and this is the last one. What does your organization currently utilize for an EAM, enterprise asset management system?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've seen, if you take a look at the magic quadrants, right, some significant players, and I think most of those players making huge strides over the last few years. We've certainly seen investment with our ecosystem partners, primarily with IBM. We do a lot of work, obviously, with Bentley and the Bentley's AssetWise. We also have, SAP customers, et cetera. So a lot of advances from all of them. But we can incorporate those, with digital twin technologies, regardless of where people are at. All right, so I think to take a look at these, I'll just, share some feedback to the group, right? This just the question on kind of whether you're investing or not, is that, the majority there was around 60%, right? With no current plans per se, or you're not yet considering it, with 30% saying they are investing and 10% saying they look like they're going to do that in the next 6 months. So I think that matches some of the information, that we're seeing, with various research, agencies, and what people are telling us when we're interacting with our clients, right? Is that a good bit are starting to dip their toes in, But you know, it's good to get the feeling that we're moving very quickly into real world application. All right.
Great. Yeah, so I know that we do have several questions that had been sent ahead of time. I've got a couple that are in the queue now.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we do those first, and then I think we have a couple targeted questions we can follow up with at the end that we have for the audience too, if we get time. You want to go ahead and read us the first one, Kat?
Well, the very first one was ALIM integration question mark.
Okay. So
are you going to go, or do you want me to go, Joe?
go ahead, Neil, if you want, and then I'll.
So we do have ALIM integration references that we can talk to. And I believe that may be a possible internal sort of question from a Cohesive or Bentley colleague. So I would say to them, if they just reach out to myself or Joe, and then we can talk to more depth around what that ALIM integration was and how it works and what it covers.
Yeah, and that's the, for those that aren't familiar with ALIM, it's asset lifecycle information management. So, you know, when you talk about digital information management, just understanding that you have the right, you know, digital documents. So not only the model information that you have, but what about all the documentation that you have from, you know, O&M manuals to regulatory documents, you know, inspection documents, you know, submittals, you know, as-builts, you know, you name it, there's tons. So document management in itself is a key part of it, but how do you manage that information so that it can be then present during, you know, the different parts of the life cycle? So can I see that along with, you know, the design models? Can I see that along with my enterprise asset management information? So it's a great question, and yeah, and absolutely, we have some things we can share. We can probably do a separate series on that as well.
We actually have a couple of people asking a very similar question. How does iTwin manage mobile assets? And then along the same line, if digital twin technology contributes, does digital twin technology contribute with any benefits for mobile assets? Yeah, so it looks like we've got a couple of people that are interested in mobile assets, and they're both from the airports. So
okay,
I find that interesting.
I think so. Neil, I'll take a first stab at that just to say that. So on the asset management side, we do a lot of asset configuration management as a specific, you know, capability that comes along with the Maximo Application Suite. So that helps to, you know, for any mobile assets, you know, tracking what's their current configuration. You know, if you're doing work on them, have you changed that configuration? What was the original design configuration that you're supposed to be meeting? And then, you know, how that overlays into the digital twin capability is some, you know, some are incorporating, of course, geolocation. So they're using GPS sensors. And as long as that location, so that sometimes gets integrated, can come in through Maximo, it can come in through an Esri integration, for instance, or other systems. Basically, that gets picked up. In terms of the iTwin, those assets, you know, are federated, and then basically the model layer. So if you had, you know, again, Esri as a reference, we integrate a lot with Maximo, as those layers get pulled into the iTwin, and then those can be shown, you know, over top of, say, like in the airport example, you might want to say, show me this hangar. The model knows, you know, geographically where that is, and then if we have GPS input, you know, from a specific asset, we can show that that asset is present. And then a good example would be then, you know, opening potentially work order history or the configuration history, you know, related to that asset. Anything to add there, Neil?
Oh, I think you've hit the nail on the head, and I'm acutely aware that we're running out of time.
We probably can squeeze one more question in. Just so everyone knows, we will answer all of these questions in a written document and send those out to everybody. There's several questions on here that you know, show us XYZ, and we don't have that yet, but we certainly will be getting that out shortly. Let's see, the last one I think we probably have, and I don't know if we can do this quickly. How will interactive iTwins improve predictive maintenance?
Yeah, Neil, either one of us. I think my instant reaction is, if we're using AI and we have things like health insights, so if we have condition data that's coming in and we overlay that with trending work history, for instance, is that using AI, we start to, can build the predictive models that would say, through running multiple instances, I can say that when we do work here, for instance, then we have a problem with this system, right? So seeing that visually, where it would come up and it would say, here is where the assets are that you're working on, and then you have a problem, that often occurs with this system. Visually seeing the relationship of that would be super important, so that how you're impacting, again, with the airport operations, it might be, how am I impacting a terminal, or how am I impacting business operations that are happening there? So I think visually seeing what those models are creating as predictions in your operations would be super beneficial to say, what decision do I make with that data once I have it?
Great. Okay, well, like I said, we do have quite a few questions we weren't able to get to. We will answer them. We will dash those out next week. I do want to thank everyone for attending. We will send a link to the recording of this session and a copy of the slide deck within 24 hours of the broadcast. This concludes today's webinar. On behalf of Joe, Neil, and everybody here at Cohesive, I want to thank everyone who attended today, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Kat. Thanks, Neil.